Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Two Shot Tuesday. Barry Nixon with the one and only Jason Riley. We are very pleased to be with you once again. The podcast you can consume, and we invite you to whenever you have a break at work. And Jason, you've been working hard, as have I. But before we talk about how hard we work here at Two Shot Studios, let's wet our whistles with our first shot of the evening, and then let's dive headlong into this thing, because it is damn cold out there, Jay.
It sure is, Barry, but we're going to be
All right.
warmed up, and I have a feeling we may sync up on our shot if it's the same as the last little while. I'm going to the Bearface, one of our favorites from the Whisky Global. I continue to enjoy that bottle. What have you got?
Jay, we are perfectly in sync, my friend. Here's to you.
And
Cheers. Yeah, Jay, once you put that in my mind about the maple syrup, that's all I taste now.
Yeah, I was
It's
going to say
fantastic.
the notes change a bit. Like I'm getting less of the maple syrup on this one.
Huh, I'm getting more.
Or are you getting more? I got a little more heat than I did last time we had this. So, and maybe you got more of the maple syrup in that bottle. I'm not sure exactly how the levels work, but I'm enjoying it. Bearface Whisky. I'm glad we discovered that one. I'm glad it was our first stop on the tour at the Whisky Global that we continue to discuss. We enjoyed it so much.
It was fantastic. And one last thing before we move on, it's Canadian.
Yeah.
And we know how important it is to support Canada and all Canadian products, whether they be liquid or whether they be something you can sit on. Support Canada. We're all about that here.
Even gaseous ones.
Yeah.
Solid, liquid, gaseous. So if there's a gaseous product that you're thinking of that's Canadian and you have an option, go with the Canadian gas.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Okay.
All right, let's get into this thing, Jay.
Let's do it. You know what? This is a pretty big episode just from the way that you kind of pumped it up today, because you have quite a dilemma on your hands, Mr. Nixon.
I do.
And I'm here to help solve that dilemma. Why don't you share with our listeners, with our viewers, exactly what's tearing at you?
And what's tearing at you? What's making you consider ending your own life? It's not that bad, but I will say this.
Good.
I have put my entertainment for the evening, my fate in your capable hands, because arriving today at the newsroom, there's 2K releases, and I don't know which one to choose. So viewers and listeners, I turned this over to Jason because he's the only guy who I trust to make this decision on my behalf.
Okay.
I got Shin Godzilla in 4K, the limited steelbook. We've heard good things.
Yeah.
And John Carpenter's part of his Apocalypse Trilogy, In the Mouth of Madness, starring Sam Neill. And that came in a super deluxe Arrow release, Jay. You may want to, I know you haven't seen it, but maybe when you do see it, you might want to consider. Arrow always does a great job with all their supplements. I got to tell you, I love all the extra non-disc swag that they include. And this thing it looks like a Bible, Jay. It's thick. And it's going to look fantastic on my shelf. Anyway, I've turned it entirely to you. My fate is in your hands, sir.
Well, because we've got to stretch on for a few more minutes, I'm going to ask some questions to help us get to the right solution for you. I do want to say my first foray into Arrow was the Spawn release.
Yeah.
No extra swag, no real steel book of any kind. Really, I don't want to say it was let down, but that was a bit of a disappointment. But I am, as you know, I have a purchase in from Arrow US, and I'm excited to have one of their exclusives come. I'll talk about that in December when it arrives.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Okay.
Now, why you didn't get the extra stuff, Jay, is usually if you are going to get an extra bit from Arrow, you got to look for the letters L and E beside the release.
Yeah.
If you see that, then, well, there you go. They just sort of shipped it. And that's fine. Not every release needs to be as thick as a Bible, but some do. And so I invite you to look for that next time you decide to buy.
Yeah, I guess they weren't expecting Spawn to be a real big seller, enough for them to go through the effort of, some of the extra work that they would have, the extra cost of bringing in, which I'm sure they would have passed along to me. So it would have been nice to have, especially because it was, and I don't want to detract from your two choices, but just while we're on the Arrow releases,
yeah, sure,
because it's based on a Todd McFarlane Image Comics property. Like, he's an artist, he's a writer. It could have come with a signed first issue of the comic. It could have come with so many different things, character sketches, the development of these characters, because they had been around for years before being there. So if I'm at Arrow, I'm like, you didn't just miss that. They didn't just miss that fact. There was a conscious choice to say, no, plastic case, sleeve, one disc, special features on that disc, and that's it. No Blu-ray with the special features. Ship it, get it done. Not that cheap. And we're going to pocket this money from the suckers that like Spawn, which is not a great movie, but fantastic looking. I will say that. Fantastic restoration. And we're going to invest that money into things like, what's the movie you got? What's the name?
In the Mouth of Madness, part of the John Carpenter Apocalypse Trilogy, Jay.
Yeah,
this movie needed to be handled with a little more loving care. And clearly they've done that, at least from the packaging perspective.
Okay, so we've talked about that. Let's talk about, let's get you to a movie this evening, shall we? Let's get you to a movie.
I need something to do, Jay. I need your help.
Shin Godzilla, that you purchased when I brought it up. Because you're such a fan of Godzilla Minus One, and I had been served up a Google ad for Shin Godzilla saying it was being released again in theaters, and it had been, I think, in Japan, maybe limited release as well in the US and even Canada. And this was one that we had missed. This was, I believe, a 2016 that has been called superior to Godzilla Minus One.
Right, and when I read that, it is. You're treading on some sacred ground because I really couldn't find a single thing wrong with Minus One. I thought Minus One was amazing, probably the best of the bunch.
So could this be perfection on top of perfection? Like, just because one is better.
Double perfection, Jay?
Double perfection. Perfection plus one. Because you have Godzilla Minus One. Perfection plus one.
Well done.
So perhaps this could be an absolute, like, don't go in there looking for issues, I would say, when you do watch this. And you will watch both at some point. It's not like we're throwing one away.
No, we're not.
It's the first. So I want you, because I'm a little worried you might be going in looking for flaws that will sort of dispute knocking this precious Godzilla Minus One from its perch. I don't want that, because let's keep in mind, Barry, you now own both. They're both your children. And, you know, as I've heard well described about children, I've heard there was a father that said, with children, multiple children, I do play favorites, but that changes from day to day. So I offer that wisdom to you, Barry. What do you think of that?
Thank you. As a couple of non-dads, this is amazing stuff.
Yeah.
It really is. Now, okay, I took your advice. In fact, well, I guess ultimately it was Google that served it to you, but then you felt it incumbent upon you to serve it to me. So thank you for doing that. I've not seen Shin Godzilla. So I purchased this sight unseen, Jay, based on your recommendation, also on the tomato score, which is very high. They said it's quite different, though, in terms of, like, this one is more Godzilla is, I think he's kind of more sinister, whereas in Minus One, he looked to be a little bit like he was trying to help.
Yeah, kind of.
And so this one is more like back to him just wanting to destroy things and, you know, inflicting terror on the city of Tokyo. So I don't know. Now, they both have subtitles. Sometimes when people are tired, they don't want to read. So I'm not saying I'm tired today, but these are factors,
important.
Jay. These are factors.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, in fact.
So you could read for an hour 45, 2 hours. You're
I
up
hope
for
it's
that.
not a full 2, but it might be. I didn't check the runtime.
So that's important too. I hadn't even considered your emotional and physical well-being at this point. So
there's so many factors to picking a movie, Jay.
Yeah, Shin Godzilla, as I understand it, was the license coming back to Toho, or they had moved away now from these U.S. Toho.
Okay, Toho.
They license it out to the and so they licensed it out to the U.S. group that made the Kong Godzilla and all that kind of stuff. Now they brought it back, and Shin Godzilla was kind of, as I understand it, their reset, and things were going to go from there. But then somehow, and I don't know how, Godzilla Minus One came into play. So they obviously made a very different movie. They may have licensed it to 2 different studios. I'm not sure how that works.
Right. Yeah.
So
either way, I'm excited to see it. And I got to say, it is a very handsome steelbook. So they did a nice job with the packaging.
That's important.
So that is important, you know.
Let's talk about the Mouth of Madness for a minute.
Let's do it.
Inside the Mouth of Madness? The Mouth of Madness?
Just in the mouth.
In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
Part 2, Part 1, Part 3 of the trilogy.
That's a good question.
Okay,
I don't
know.
I know it's just part of said trilogy. I don't know where it sits. And if you were to press me on what are the other 2, we'll be right back. It would be one of those situations.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
But
So regardless, it is in the mouth of madness. Yeah.
In the mouth of madness.
Yeah.
So we don't know that it's not built like a Star Wars trilogy where one builds another. It's more thematic, the trilogy, right? Is that true?
That is my understanding, Jay, from the minimal amount of research that I did.
Great. So you could be walking into a part 2. And so I'm also concerned about this. I don't want you to be confused for a lot of the night. So if you're coming in on a hard part 2, you could have little satisfaction going in and then be left hanging if it's a true trilogy.
I don't think
it is. How do you feel about that?
I think you hit it earlier. I think it's trilogy in theme only. They're not connected stories.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's important. So that sort of puts us at ease, as you can go in and enjoy this as a complete movie in itself. Now, I do have a question about runtimes. You may not know the answer to this. What are the runtimes of each film? Do you have any idea?
That's a great question as well, Jay. A very well thought out question. And unfortunately, I do not at this time have the answer, but I do hope it's sub 2 hours, because as you know, that's the wheelhouse that you and I like to live in for when it comes to movies nowadays.
Okay, so there's hope. We're going by hope. It's around 2 hours.
There's hope.
Godzilla Minus One was just about 2 hours, if I remember correctly.
I think it was. Yeah, it was like 2:01. It was like just crested 2, if I recall. But that was, you didn't feel that runtime, Jay. And I challenge anybody who says that they felt that runtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway. It gives us a window into what Shin might be. And then on John Carpenter, his movies are usually in the like 145 to 2, or like 145 range.
Yeah, they don't overstay their welcome.
So that's good. So it kind of gives us an idea. Like us. Yeah, it's a movie you can enjoy on your break if your break was a full 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we think we're safe on the sequels. How are you feeling about the look? So one's a steelbook, the other's not, or they're both steelbooks?
Yeah, Arrow doesn't really do steelbooks. That's one thing you'll notice.
So that's not a steelbook. So the one's plastic and the other's a steelbook.
Right, but the Arrow one is, like I said, is thick as a Bible.
Sure.
So it's a loaded package. It's a handsome package, but it's just not made of steel. Whereas the Shin Godzilla, they made it steel, which is cool.
So how are you feeling then? And that's where I'm getting to this. Tonight, how do you feel your dexterity? A steelbook's very easy to open. Everything's contained. This other one is quite large, and you might feel the need to kind of flip through. Are you kind of in a restless mood where you would like to flip through things like lobby cards and booklets?
I might like to do a little flipping and check out those lobby cards. And also, you're right about having more non-disc swag in the package, that it all kind of slides out at the same time, and then you're kind of fumbling for a second or two. So is it as smooth a operation as just popping the disc out of a steelbook? Probably not.
But how are you feeling tonight? The way I kind of hear it is you're okay with that. You wouldn't mind maybe flipping, looking at some things. Okay.
I'm ready to flip, Jay.
I think I've made a decision. And
should we have our second shot before you render said decision?
Yes.
Yeah. I could see. You have the face of a true adjudicator. You've weighed all the facts in the case. I can't wait to see what I'm going to be watching tonight. Jay, it's some Bearface Whisky coming right at you.
And you called me the face of an adjudicator, the bare face of an adjudicator right here.
Outstanding.
Cheers.
Still getting that maple syrup, Jay. It's
delicious. Me too.
It's perfect time of year for this kind of whiskey.
It really is. Yeah. We're tapping the trees and we're getting the syrup. I love that. And meanwhile, Bearface is writing us going, there's no maple syrup in this, guys. Could you stop saying maple syrup?
Can you stop saying that? Yeah, but it's just the notes. Like you said, the notes, Jay.
The notes. It's what you want to hear, that's what you get. And maybe if there's no maple syrup, perhaps a line extension. Maybe Two Shot Tuesday presents Bearface with maple syrup, because we all connect. Okay, we'll talk.
I love it.
Here's what I think. All right, here's what I think. I think that I see a little hesitation on your part. I think I hit, not a nerve, but I hit the right tenor when I'm like, you might be really looking to find faults in Shin Godzilla that aren't there, that you won't appreciate finding if you can kind of watch it when you're in a more relaxed mode, when you're like, God, I got to watch this movie. So that's one thing I noticed.
Okay.
The second is you didn't seem very concerned about walking into the middle of a trilogy, and you're kind of set that it's thematic, and you're pretty comfortable with it being thematic. But either way, the Barry T. Nixon I know is a risk taker, and a risk taker will go into the middle of a trilogy and go, what's going on? I don't care. I'm enjoying it.
Exactly.
So Yeah, you'll take the bull by the horns. And I also think that if you did get a bit confused, you might like to have some lobby cards to flip through while you're doing it. Also, reading after a long day at the office, working hard, doing a podcast on top of that can be fairly challenging. And I don't want you to lose any of
grueling, some might say, Jay.
Yeah, exactly. So for those reasons, I think we're already leaning. It's In the Mouth of Madness is what I think would be your best watch.
Okay, Jay, thank you very much. I will watch that and I will tell you all about it. Well, I will tell you some things about it because you haven't seen it. It's a great one, and I do want us to watch it together at some point in the future, but I'll give you a spoiler-free 30,000-foot view review.
Okay. I love this. For our listeners and our viewers, before we go, want to do one quick rip from the headlines?
I do. I'm glad that we still have time.
We do. We have time. We have time for a quick one. Here we go. Let's do interesting. From the BBC.com, you've sent me this headline, and I'm going to read just the headline. For those joining us for the first time, we give you the news, one headline at a time. We don't go past the headline, and we discuss it, and we'll give you the full story. Here it is. Willpower doesn't exist, period. Why so much of your health isn't your fault?
Right.
Somber. Yeah. I feel like I'm hearing the Goodwill Hunting. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
It almost sounds like they're trying to let you off the hook for bad habits, Jay.
Yeah.
Doesn't that kind of feel like that? Oh, it's okay that you're not feeling great or you're perhaps a little sluggish or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's the medical system or it's the environment. I don't know.
Or it's in your genes. It's like genetics gets blamed for a lot of these things. But basically it's saying willpower doesn't exist. So if it doesn't exist, so there we go. But if we take the headline and as fact that willpower doesn't exist, what could be the thing that gets people to take on challenges and actually do, like you quit smoking on a dime at one point in your life, nicotine, gone, didn't look back.
That's true.
That's got to be some willpower or at least some resolve or what I like to call good old Barry T. Nixon gumption.
That's very nice of you, Jay. I was also a very young man when I decided to hang up my spurs when it came to tobacco. I think
Babe in the woods.
The only real motivator, if willpower doesn't exist, if we're going to proceed with the assumption that it doesn't exist, the only thing I can think of that would motivate someone to change their life is to see examples in other people of what they might like to achieve. You know what I mean? So if someone wants to change their body, for example, you might look to someone who is in shape and say, I want to emulate that person. Whatever they're doing, I'd like to do that too.
Yeah. Maybe it's exactly. So finding inspiration as opposed to willpower and then just having the momentum to go on.
You got to have a plan too.
Some momentum. So I think that's an interesting thing. Yeah.
Now, do you think willpower is a real thing or not a real thing?
I think I'm with you. I think it's more like you have a goal and you're kind of working towards it and you understand the consequences of making, say, bad choices or choices off of the path, and you have to keep focused towards it. So maybe it's not so much this kind of hanging on to something as aspirational, something that you're working towards.
Yeah, so I agree.
Perhaps willpower is dead. So if we agree with the first part of that or take it as it is, I'm just looking again, why so much of your health isn't your fault?
Yeah,
that's where that's a bit...
That part kind of loses me a little bit because it's kind of giving you an out. It's like letting you off the hook before you've even tried to do something. Like, do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure that that's necessarily a positive thing. If people are truly trying to change something in their life that isn't working, to give them an out in the first the second sentence is, I don't know. I'm just not sure.
And you should try it. Like I had... I'll share before we go on, it is time to run, but I'm now taking a statin, something for cholesterol that I hadn't had to take because it was up. And I said, before you put me on it, I want to have, give me 60 days to just eat healthy. And I did. I cooked. You saw me, I was doing the taco thing where I had a wrap and chicken and I was making it all at home for 60 days. And I went hard and it just didn't come down enough. And then they said, you should add this. It's mostly genetics. And I took it and now it's down and everything's fine. So I couldn't get there on willpower alone, but I worked towards it. And now I found that right balance. And occasionally you need a little help from a little pink pill. And that was fine in that case. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's like that health wasn't my fault. It wasn't because I was eating so terribly up to this point. It just I was more predisposed to have, and it is in my family. I was more predisposed to have that, but there are solutions that I can work on to do better.
That's true. You can't change your genetics, but you can change your attitude. And I think that's a nice thing to leave our viewers and listeners with on this week's episode. We will be with you again next week, as always, and we love being with you. And if you have anything you'd like us to discuss, leave something in the comments. Say you guys should talk about X. Because if one thing Jason and I are always up for, it's lively chat about things we don't necessarily know much about. So
that's right. That's us.
See you next week.
By the headline. Yeah.
Yep.
See you next week. Thanks, Barry. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you for listening to Two Shot Tuesday. The show is produced by Barry and I and edited by me. If you have yet to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, please take a second to do so now. It helps us grow, and it helps new audiences to find the show. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Two Shot Tuesday and on Twitter at Two Shot Tuesday Podcast. Stop by, give us a follow, leave us a comment, and share your favorite episodes. If you have a question you'd like featured on the show, you can send us a text at 647-486-4848. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.